Hi, everybody. Hi. My talk is not going to be as long, so hopefully you can all go home soon. So just to introduce myself, my name is Robyn Kachtan. I'm a mother to a daughter on the spectrum, and I've also authored 2 books, which I will tell you about a little bit later, and I'm an advocate for autism awareness. So my daughter Gia is 18 years old and on the high functioning side of the autistic spectrum. So she, sorry, I just want to get to my notes. Okay, oopsie. Okay, she was a very content, going back to the earlier years, she was a very content baby. She basically ate and slept and did what she needed to do. And she reached all her milestones on time, except for her walking. Her walking was quite delayed. So she started walking at 18 and a half months. When she was 2.5, we started her at playgroup. And when most of the other kids were 3 already, because her birthday is towards the end of the year, when I heard all the other kids stringing words together, I realized, there was something more to this or something wrong. So, people always tell you, don't worry, after my child started playgroup, they started talking after 2 weeks and blah, 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 blah. So it gave me false hope, and I would drive to school every day and I'd think, oh, please let the teacher tell me my child started talking. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. But when she was 3, we started her off at speech therapy and occupational therapy. So the occupational therapy and speech actually used a method called floor time, which is basically therapy through play. I'm sure there's more about it. But yes, exactly, follow the child. So it worked really well. Even though the progress was slow, there was still progress, and I'm sure you can all understand how huge that progress is to us as parents, no matter how big or small. So she repeated playgroup, and it was in an actual nursery school. And then she, at the age of 4, even though she had no words, so going back, at 8 months she had the mama, baba, dada, but then it all stopped completely. She had no words. So, but at 4 years old, second year of playgroup, the teacher told me, she said, there's something interesting I've observed. She said, when they're out at break time, we are setting up the classroom for an art activity, and on everyone's piece of paper has their name at the top, and they don't keep the same spot. They change it up, so it's not in the same place every day. And when Gia came into the class, she would go walking around the table, and she would find her name. And the teacher observed it for a few days and thought, is it coincidence? No, the child can read. I'm like, what? This child can't even talk. Anyway, she was always fascinated with numbers and letters. Anyway, she started slowly talking as well as reading properly a book. Like a first reader kind of book. I thought, I'm going to read it to her. I opened it up and she read the title. I'm like, okay, wow, okay. So she started reading at 4, still had very little speech. So she stayed at that nursery school until 5 years old. And one day, the principal called us into her office. I mean, in a good way. And she said, my husband couldn't make the meeting, so I was there alone. And she said to me, look, she said, Gia is very happy at the school. We love her to bits. She is welcome to stay here. However, she feels that there is something, there is a bigger picture to all of this, and she feels she could flourish in a more specialized environment. So I'm like, my heart sank into myself. I'm like, what do you mean special? She says, I can't diagnose, but I'm thinking more on autism. And, you hear these words, especially as a first-time parent, and I just went cold, and I just sat there, and I just kept composed. Anyway, I left that meeting, and getting into my car, and the tears just started rolling down my cheeks, and basically that initial grieving process came along, even though there wasn't a formal, there was no assessments done yet. So I got home, and obviously I'm in a state, and I told my husband. Anyway, we took her to a pediatric neurologist to be assessed at 5 years old, and her diagnosis was PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental delay, not otherwise specified, which fits part of the spectrum. So we basically went with everything that all the professionals suggested, we went ahead. So we carried on with the speech, we did the OT, we saw education, we did whatever. One great thing is about my husband, he's amazing. He's so easygoing. He's a great husband and a great dad and a great cook. and I'm really, really spoiled. But in the bigger picture, we've always been on the same page. We have a very, very strong connection, and at least we, as parents, we do, what we need to do. So we were never in denial, and we just sort of thought, okay, well, how can we help her progress? And let's take it from there, no matter how much we're hurting inside. So basically she started, so we took her out the school. We decided, okay, we heard about the center, and they were a therapy-based school out in the southern suburbs, and we put Gia there. She started off as a daily learner, so it's quite an intense therapy-based education, and she did 3 hours a day, and then progressed to a full week, and then she went into a small class environment, also for 3 hours. So she was there for another 3 years, and then the owner of the school said to me one day, she said, Robyn, she said, your child has progressed beautifully, she's flourishing, and she was talking by then. She said, she says, I feel that she's ready for a proper school environment. So I was jumping up and down. So anyway, and every time we used to go for drives, Gia we drove past the school, you see the big field with the kids playing soccer, and she would say, Mom, I want to go to a school like that with a football field. Okay. So we went to visit a school, a very big school, a school with a very big football field and athletic track. And she started there, St. George's Grammar. She started there and she just flourished. She ended end of last year, but there was a whole team there as well, speech, occupational therapy. I didn't have to be the liaison between the teacher and all the therapists and doctors and whoever, because that was extremely tiring. I just walked into the meeting, sat down, and I was told all the information, which was great. And then we all worked together. So so she finished school there. So they cater for the best of both. So there's a support class one in the prep school and one in the high school, and then there's the mainstream class. So she was between the two. By high school, she was fully mainstreamed. When I say mainstream, she was learning in the mainstream class, but to write assessments, she wrote informal assessments because I just wanted her to enjoy her learning, and I knew that she wasn't going to matriculate and study further. She was going to do something whatever she wanted to do and less stressful. So I said, never mind about formal assessments. Let's just let her write the tests, the exams, let her learn, grade her on it. She got reports, everything, and she just flourished like you cannot believe. So yeah, and I really do take my hat off to that school, and it's not often I will brag about schools or whatever. So yeah, so that was that. And okay, so when it comes to challenges, okay, I'm going to give you a huge challenge from her earlier child years, and then I'm going to talk about a current challenge. Okay, so the biggest challenge for us in her earlier years was toileting, and I know it came up earlier on. So by the age of 5, Gia still was not toilet trained, not even for a number 1. So this also freaked us out completely. But I thought, you can't push it, otherwise obviously they'll just shut down. One day, I saw we were at home, and I saw that she wanted to, as well. So she kind of, could see was holding it a little bit. So I said to her, "Come, let's go into the bathroom." And I sat there for 20 minutes, just in her panties, and I turned the water on and let her play a bit, splash a bit, and she was literally spinning in circles because she needed the toilet. And I kept saying, "Come, Gigi, come, I'll put you on, I'll hold you on." I said, "Even we'll keep your panties on." Anyway, eventually, after 20 minutes of this poor child holding this and running around like a cartoon character, she started, and then I picked her up and put her on in mid, and put her on, and I bent down to her level, and I held her and praised her, and she was very scared, but she did it. And even though her underwear was still on, she did it. And slowly, that's how we did it with her, eventually until, she could sit with the underwear off on the toilet and do it herself. So that came at 5, which is also pretty late. Now, the number 2, and this was a very stressful time for all of us, and especially for her. She only started going on the toilet at 10 years old. So she wasn't even fitting into the biggest size of child diapers. We were buying adult diapers. So, yeah, and she also had trouble with her, she's got trouble with her stomach as well. So she, we have to put the pull-ups on, obviously, and, she would do her business until she actually became traumatized, with us having to actually change her, and then didn't like the sight and and blah, blah, blah. And one day I was at the shops. We live very close to the shops, and I'd walked across the road, and my husband phoned me. And he said to me, Robyn, he said, she's just been to the toilet. She's on the toilet. I said, well, she's still on the toilet. I said, and I was literally like, I was 2 steps away from coming back. I said, okay. I said, I'm here. So I got there, and she couldn't, she was still on the toilet. She couldn't wait to tell me. And we just made a whole fuss, obviously, and the presents and the this and the that. We had a cupboard full of presents, actually, because, shame, the poor child, it was up in a high cupboard, and she would go open it. She'd go look, like, okay, maybe if I go. It took years, though. That collection just, kept going, and she got quite a nice selection of gifts in one day. Okay, so that was a challenge then. Also, obviously, people, the way they stare in the shops. So that was a challenge initially, but being on this journey with Gia really has taught me not to sweat the small stuff. It's like, who cares what other people think? Who cares? So what? If she's having a meltdown, if she's hitting me, if she's whatever, who actually cares, It really doesn't matter. And patience. Patience in me, the most impatient person on this earth. Well, not so much anymore, I try my best. I'm not perfect, but she's taught me patience, and that's amazing, that I can be as patient as I am. Yeah. Okay, so I just need to see, because there's actually quite a lot to say. I didn't realize. Okay. I think I've said quite a lot already. Okay. Okay, also, support system. Okay, support system is extremely important, and we are extremely blessed to have my parents living literally in the same building as us. It wasn't always like that, but it is now. And without them, we just, we would not have managed. My husband's whole family is abroad, so if it wasn't for my parents, we would really have very little support. Over the years, obviously, we've found our tribe, meeting parents and kids, from schools, from the various schools, who, we still kept in touch with a lot of them. But initially, it was obviously very isolated. You felt extremely isolated. But now, that seemed to have changed over time. So, all right. So, teenage years. Teenage years have not been too bad, but obviously there are, things that are challenging as well. So she turned 12, and Mother Nature blessed her with womanhood, and she coped extremely well with it. We couldn't actually believe it. She coped better than most neurotypical teens would, So it was amazing, just amazing for us to see. Mood-wise, not too bad. Okay, look, she is on a mood stabilizer, but a very low dose, but not too hectic. She's okay. But it's the regulation that we really, really struggled with. So, and still are. So basically, we started her off with a life coach, and she's sitting here in our audience today. Zuza. And she's been working with Susanna for 2 years now. 2 years. And yeah, Susanna's helped her tremendously in all aspects, with the food as well. Amazingly, but not just with that, just with everything, and regulation, and giving us tools to use. And yeah, it's working, and we're getting there. Gia struggles with sensory issues, as most of us do. But the huge thing is she hates the sound of babies crying. it's gotten to such a bad point is that she won't even go out into public space unnecessarily to avoid seeing a baby and potentially crying and triggering her. And obviously I'm in fight and flight all the time. We don't know how she's going to react. So even though now she does have noise cancelling headphones, which she says works really well, she will go maybe to a mall on the odd occasion, first thing in the morning. We have to be there 5 to 9 before the shops open. We do our thing, put the thing. But if a baby cries, it triggers her immediately. So she'll literally, like, her body will freeze, just freeze. And I'll sort of have to, like, redirect her and just say, come, don't worry about it. Let's just walk off in the other direction. And she's coping much, much better than she was, because at one point she wouldn't go anywhere other than for a walk on the prom. So yeah, so she is coping much, much better with that. And then I did like a little startup thing a few years ago just to advocate for awareness and acceptance. So I started making up some merchandise, some jewelry, some bracelet items with the symbols, and I would sell them and raise some funds for. And I collaborated with Autism Western Cape for a short period of time, and then I would donate part of the proceeds to them, and obviously to create the awareness. So that was quite nice. And then in 2020, I decided that I am going to author my first book, and I'm going to have it self-published. Now, I'm not a writer by any means. Well, I didn't think I was. Anyway, so I decided during lockdown, I took my pen and paper out and started writing. And it went, it's quite a short book, and it went really well, and I finished it. And I decided to self-publish it. So it came out, advertised it, it sold really well. And now 5 years down the line, I have just authored my second one. Obviously, it's now the stage from tween to young adults. It's at the printers as we speak. So I'm very excited to get it. Very excited to get it. Okay, so it's called the first one was called Our Journey, parenting from autism from a parent's perspective, and the new book is Our Journey Continues. Yeah, so that's what it's going to be. So we're very excited to get that up and out, and I'm just thinking if I've missed anything. I might have skipped out some things. Oh, sorry. It's very important what she's doing now. I was thinking like this is something really missing. So anyway, all right. So she finished school last year, and obviously, like the last few, 2 years of high school, we were like, what is she actually going to do after school? This was obviously a huge concern. Like, what is she going to be doing? So, we then went to visit a non-profit organization that I've known about for many years, ever since I was young, actually, called Astra Center. And they basically have various workshops, or creative art workshops, and they make up various crafting gift products, which they sell in their gift shop there. And I think there might be 1 or 2 other gift shops in the community that they sell at. And Gia's also extremely creative. And it's work. It's 9 to 3, and which, she's such a dedicated employee. She was sick the other day, and she's like, Mom, I'm going to get fired. I can't stay home. I'm like, no, you have sick leave. She's like, oh, shame, So, and she's there with people like her. She is the youngest, but, there are some people that are now in their 20s as well, and then obviously older and much older. But Gia loves, it doesn't matter what age you are, Gia will get on with you. So one of her best friends are like 70 years old. And I think it's the sweetest thing, And she always talks about David. And she is so, so, so content and just loving what she does. And just even with the little salary that she does earn, she is beyond delighted with that bit of money that she gets. And it's like, we opened a bank account for her. Well, she opened a bank account I took her to the bank, sat with a consultant. She did it on, with the app online. And, she watches her money grow, as she would say. And if she wants something, like, yeah, well, you've got your money. Okay. So now something she's wanted for a month, she's still thinking about. So I thought, okay, definitely not mommy's girl, but thank God she's more like her daddy in that way. So it's a good life lesson, She's doesn't really ask for much, but she wants something. Okay, there's your card. Go tap. Yeah. So I think that's basically it, Any questions? Yes. Yes, in gardens. Yeah, Astra Center. Yes, it is. It's coffee time. Coffee time is yes. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And back in my day, it was always around, but no one, these special needs, it wasn't like how everyone sees it now. And to me, it was always like a stigma attached to it. I'm in the community as well, and it was just like you go there, you're backward type thing. That's how what was perceived all those years ago, where it's really not.
School was always like this special class.
Yeah, exactly.
And meanwhile, all those special class kids all those special class kids actually had their own talents and their own gifts.
Exactly.
And they were seen as stupid,
exactly.
Actually.
Meanwhile, they've got so much to offer.
Yeah.
The neurotypical
Even though
kids.
I'm like also on spectrum and I've got ADHD, but I was the quiet, do what you're told, sit, don't rock the boat. And I think those kids were not. So they were always lumped into that.
Yeah.
And I could tell you now, like all the kids that I used to see that used to disrupt class, whatever, I knew exactly. Now I look at that and I go,
yeah,
okay, they had ADHD.
Exactly.
And why couldn't they just, be allowed to walk around the class?
I know. It's like two of my friends now have gone on whatever, concert or what, Ritalin with their kids. They're like, oh, okay, well, that's why I couldn't sit still or concentrate or, it's like, oh, I feel much better, whatever. Yeah.
What does she do for social, like to connect with people outside of work?
Okay.
Because, I think once they're done with school or, then it becomes problematic if, socializing and making friends and connecting.
Okay, so thankfully, Gia's extremely sociable. Actually, quite surprised. She's very sociable, very bubbly girl. So she's still got a few friends from school. The one is still in school. The other two are out of school. So they still sometimes connect on weekends, not all the time. Gia also likes her own space. So so they will, if they want to connect, in person, then we'll do it over a weekend. Yeah, because that was also actually a concern of mine, thinking, will she still be connected to the children she was at school with and her good friends?
Yeah.
But
and she sounds quite bright in terms of academic wise.
She's very intelligent.
Yeah, I don't know if I had a question there, but I kind of want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
But there was a question, I think, what are your goals for her? Because I feel like she's obviously got a lot to give.
She does have a lot to give. So basically, this is what I feel right now is that we'll use what she's doing now at Astra Center. We can say at the moment it might be it might just be the bridging opportunity. However, I think it will be more long term because she loves it there so much and it's stress free. Even though it's work they've got there, it's stress free. What more does, really, what more do they need? Yeah, I wish my job was. Yeah, it's like, I'm not the kind of parent no, you got to do this, you must study, whatever. But she's very good with IT and coding. I mean, she's like, it's another ball game. I mean, she could hack Google, no joke, she did one day. She got an app that wasn't released yet, okay, from the App Store, but through Google, and we didn't have to pay for it. She's very honest. She comes and she's like, Mom, can I press OK? So I'm like, okay, as long as they're asking me for credit card details, do what you want. So she presses OK and she comes screaming, I got the app. Anyway, don't ask me how that was done. So I'm hoping that she will possibly go into something like that one day. I mean, she'll, yeah. I mean, not hacking. Sorry, a bit of a delayed reaction. Yeah, no, yeah. coding. Proper coding. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? There is interest, but quite honestly, like not with like an actual physical. She'll take it like as someone in a TV program, and she'll take screenshots and she'll like say, okay, I'm having my date with Zachary Brock from Shake It Up or wherever he's from. I don't know. I don't even watch these things, and it's like. Even like Thomas the Tank Engine. I mean, she doesn't watch that anymore, but she just, it was one of her favorites. So she has a screensaver on one of her other devices. And she's like, well, Mom, I'm just having, it's private, just a date with Thomas. And then she'll like kiss Thomas. So I'm like, okay, it's fine. I don't mind her having these virtual boyfriends right now, character. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, but there definitely is some sort of interest, But yeah, but not like, which is absolutely fine with me right now.
Because of her being so high functioning, because of her being so high functioning, devices. You say on her other device, so there's more than one. There's more than one.
Yeah, they're not.
How did you manage that?
Okay, so at the moment so in school it was obviously the tablet, that she used, and then she had her cell phone and a laptop, okay. But now it's just the cell phone. So the iPad was like, the tablet was like for schools. So it's kind of like now it's in the cupboard. That's school stuff, the school email. So at least we're now down to one phone. I let Gia be on her phone because she's doing constructive things on it. But most importantly, that's how she regulates herself. So even if she's just holding it in her hand, that's, she needs her phone in her hand. That's her safety net. Doesn't mean she's always on it. And when she is on it, she's listening to everything. She knows exactly. Or she's watching TV, but she's on her phone. In Susanna's session, Susanna allows her to have her phone in her hand because that's how she's comfortable, she chats. She does a lot of things through GIFs, and that's how she explains herself. So I'm not a parent, for Gia, I'm not a parent that, screen time, it's whatever she needs. Yeah.
Robyn, I just was wondering, would you like to chat a little bit more about adulting? Because that's the term that G kind of discovered and, working around it in terms of goals. I can't talk about it, but you can.
No, sure. So 2 weeks ago, Gia came home from her session with Zuza, and she said to her, okay, so what do you need to do? Or like, what did you discuss? She says, Mom, adulting, she says to me. I said, oh, good. So I said, well, what about? Like what? So she says, Mom, I just need to be independent, be responsible, and I need to do chores around the house. So I'm going to help you with the washing. And then she comes in, what are you making? Or can I, help and do this and chop this and whatever? What are we doing? What are you eating? It's like, okay. So... Oh, yes, with the gifts, of course. Well, maybe that's... It's clever, yeah, with the gifts, yeah. So thankfully now, she's into this whole adulting thing and trying to be more independent. Yeah.
Well done to you.
Thank you. Thanks.